Okay, so this lesson is about machine learning. It's a lesson 2, following artificial intelligence. So let's start with just pausing your screen, but before that, how can you tell the difference between a cat and a rock? What characteristics can you think of? And if you finish that, what other use cases are there for AI? So we've gone through some use cases. Can you think of any others? Can you think of these cases? So pause your video and just think about this. So for the first one, how can you tell the difference between a cat and a rock? So a cat has eyes, it has ears, it has legs, and a rock is an inanimate object. They're about the same color, and the rock is much more, it has a harder surface. The use cases for AI include self-driving cars, Siri, and games. So the objective for today is to understand how facts and rules are used to categorize data in machine learning and its strengths and weaknesses. Facts are something that are generally true. It's almost always true. It's not always true, but almost always. So think of it like humans always have two hands. It's not always the case, but most of the time it is true. Categorize basically just means sort. So what is a fact? One fact is humans have two hands, and another fact is tigers have sharp teeth. So what do we know so far? So last lesson, we covered artificial intelligence. AI, or artificial intelligence, refers to computer systems that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. These include learning and problem solving. We did emphasize on learning and problem solving last lesson, but there were also a few others. We've also looked at many use cases of AI. So I'll give you a minute. Just think about it. I have already given you some, but just think about it and then we'll go through it. So just pause your screen and we'll go through it. Okay, so for the first one, ChatGPT. This is basically a chatbot. Second one is Siri. Third one is games. And the fourth one is a self-driving car. So what are we covering today? Machine learning, a part of artificial intelligence that allows computers to learn from data and recognize patterns to sort future data. So you talked about patterns last lesson. What are patterns? It's just something that continues and it's sort of predictable. We've talked about sorting. Another word for sorting was categorizing. And that's just putting things into groups. So animal group and plant group. So by the end of the lesson, we should understand what machine learning is and how it learns. Before you learn this, it's important to know why. Why are you learning this? There's two key reasons I pointed out, but there's so many more. So for the first one, knowing about it will help you better understand how present and future technology works. And secondly, it will help develop your critical thinking skills, which you can use for all sorts of jobs. And obviously it's growing exponentially, so we are heading that way anyway. This is a keyword, training data. Training data is a set of data used to teach AI how to recognize patterns and make predictions. So look at the top and now think, which image from the bottom would fit in with the top? So if you had to categorize the two bottom ones, which one would you put in the same category as the top ones? This one's pretty obvious, it's the one on the right, because it has more characteristics that are to do with the ones at the top. It gets slightly harder, but it's still pretty basic. I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to think about it. Just pause your screen and then we'll go through it. So it's also the one on the right. These characteristics, such as the way the ear is shaped, the eye, it's not a circle, it's more round, and the way their face is shaped. it's more straight. Okay. Firstly, you need something. Next, you can spot something else. And all you have to do is just put in the keywords and then we'll go through the answers. So I'll give you a minute, pause your screen, and then we'll go through it. So the order was, firstly, you need information or data. Information and data is basically the same thing. It would work. You can use either one. You can use information twice, in fact, or data. Next, you can spot patterns. Now, when you get additional information, you can match it with the rules you made based off the information or data. So this is a much trickier one. I'm not sure if you'll get this, but we know how we look at it. So we know the top part is training data, and we know the bottom part is something we need to categorize. What we have to look at are the patterns. So what patterns can you see on the top ones, and which one do you think matches with it? I'll give you a hint. Look at the mouth shape. So pause the video and then we'll go through it. So for this one, it's the one on the left. It's because the shape of their mouth is a V shape. So you can see it here. It's a V shape, but here it would be more clearer. So crocodiles have a V-shaped snout, and alligators have it's more round. It's a U-shaped snout. So we've gone through what training data is. Training data is the set of data used to teach AI how to recognize patterns and make predictions. Now, I've put 4 images around this slide, and all I want you to do is, what do we want AI to recognize if we attach the following images? What are we trying to teach AI? So when you give it training data, you want it to learn something. What patterns can you see here? So take 30 seconds and think about it. Just pause your screen. So these are all examples of anime. So AI recognizes patterns on its own based on the data it's been trained on. So these are all, once again, examples of anime. Machine learning. So machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is the artificial creation of human-like intelligence. It's all about human-like intelligence. The things we've talked about, learning, problem solving, pattern recognition, it's all about, these are things humans can do. If computers can copy it, it's human-like intelligence. Machine learning is a part of AI, as I said before. In machine learning, the machine will work out the rules for itself. So you give it labeled data, and then it will just find out rules. In fact, it can be better than humans at finding out these rules because it can process information so much faster. So it will be given a large amount of training data to work out these rules. So firstly, you give it training data. We've looked at so many examples of training data. So the 4 images at the top for all animal ones, those were training data. Machine learning learns from this training data and makes patterns based on it. Once it makes the patterns, once you give it new data, it has rules, and it can say, okay, so the information I've been given was 4 images of the tigers. The tigers have stripes, so if it has stripes, it may be a tiger. It has sharp teeth. If it has sharp teeth, then it's more likely to be a tiger. The more characteristics that fit in with it, the more likely it is to be that animal. Okay, so AI is used to analyze large amounts of data to predict the likelihood of developing certain diseases. This can help doctors identify patients who are at risk and develop personalized treatment plans. So finish the sentence. If doctors could use machine learning to make accurate findings on patients' health, it would save both. Pause the video and then just go through it. Will be time and money. Okay, so voice cloning uses artificial intelligence techniques to train a machine learning voice model with the real recordings to extract spectrums of a voice and create a voice that sounds almost exactly like the real voice. So here, what would the training data be? So let's go through it again. Voice cloning. It's all about voice cloning. It's all about your voice. So what would the training data be here? How would you train it? So it would be the real recordings. The answer would be training data for voice cloning includes voice recordings. So as it says on the real recordings of a target speaker. So if you gave it examples of your voice and you kept giving it and giving it, it can make it trains based on that data, and then after that it can make up your voice. How does the model learn? The model learns by analyzing and processing the training data to create a synthetic voice that mimics the target speaker's voice. And now, why would this be a safety issue? Now we're going into e-safety. Take a minute, just think about it, pause the video, and then we'll go through it. So the answer is safety issues related to voice cloning include the potential for fraud and misuse of the synthetic voices for malicious purposes. Malicious just means dangerous. So if you had someone else's voice, you can pretend to be them, and you can maybe get vulnerable information that is best that they don't actually want to share. Now, here's something you use almost daily, maybe daily. What is the training data in this scenario? Think about it, pause the video, and then we'll go through the answer. Okay, so the training data here is the movies that you watch. When you watch movies, Netflix takes information from the movies that you watch, and it can look at the type of genre or the type of movies that you watch, and then it will recommend it based on what you've watched previously. So now we move on to the part two. So facts and rules. So we've already looked at facts. You said tigers have sharp teeth. So another fact is a person has hands. We've looked at it as 2 hands, right? And a condition about that fact, so a person's hands are up, that's a rule. So a fact is something that is generally true in all cases, and a rule is a condition about a fact. So here is a car, and all I want you to say is what are the facts about the car? What do they all have in common? So the answers are below, but just take a minute and think about it. So the first one is they all have doors. Next they have windows. Next they have engines. Next they have tires. There's so many. Okay, so facts and rules. A fact for classifying a person might be that people have a mouth. A rule that helps to classify a person could be people might wear sunglasses. Facts and rules. So facts, we've gone through this already, is anything that's generally true. So people have 2 eyes. Is that generally true? Yes. People have a mouth. Is that generally true? Yes. People have teeth. People have hands. Rules are something about that. So what can you do with your eyes? You can open them, you can close them. So they're all rules. People have a mouth. Mouths may be open or they may be closed. People have teeth. Teeth may be shown or they may not be shown. People have hands. Hands may be up or they could be down. Okay. Do your facts and rules identify this dog as a person? So what does a dog have? So we know people have 2 legs. A dog has 4 legs, so it wouldn't be. But people wear sunglasses. So there's some characteristics that could go with humans, some characteristics wouldn't. So we've already gone through training data. That's just the information you put in at the start. So 1 eye, 2 wings that are both open, and small head with a beak. These are just possible rules for the training data. Problems with the rules are birds from the front have 2 eyes, and birds may have their wings shut or cannot fly. Machine learning therefore requires lots of data if it's to learn well. Now there's strengths and weaknesses. So the strengths and there's weaknesses. The strengths of machine learning are it can find patterns we did not know that were there. I've already said at the start that machine learning learns from patterns. It can identify patterns, and it could be much better than us because they can process a lot more data than us, much faster as well. Second one, it can solve simple questions and leave skilled humans to deal with the special or harder cases. So there's some that are really, really hard. So alligator and crocodile, they're hard, but I'm pretty sure machine learning would get that one. But there's some that are just much more closer. The more closer they are, the more harder it is. Next, the machine improves with experience, and finally, it can handle unstructured data. The weaknesses is only as good as the training data given to it. If you give it bad training data, then the entire machine learning algorithm will just be terrible. It only gives a probability, not a certain answer. It won't know for certain that this is a human, even if it had most of the characteristics, and it won't know for certain that this is a dog, and it won't know for certain that this is a cat. Next, results may need careful interpretation, and errors can be hard to detect. So, as I said before, it doesn't know for certain. So here you're looking at numbers. There's a 97% chance that this is a boat. It really does look like a boat, but machine learning won't know for certain. Even if you had all the characteristics, it just won't know for certain. It can be like 0.9999, but it won't be 100. So, what did we cover today? By the end of the outcome that we said at the start, by the end, we should understand what machine learning is and how it learns. So let's see if you understand it. Explain how machine learning learns to sort data. Use the following words. Think about it. How does machine learning learn to sort data? What happens at the start? How does it learn? And what can it do after that, after it learns? So take 30 seconds and think about it. Just pause the video. So you give machine learning training data at the start. So this is just information that you give the algorithm at the start, and then it will learn from it. It will identify patterns. Once it identifies these patterns, when you give it new data, it can sort this data based off if-then rules. The second question, give 2 examples of where machine learning can be found. So we've looked at one that you use every day, so that's a clue. What else can you use? Take 10 seconds and think about it, just pause the video. So Netflix was one, and social media is another one. Number 3, explain why we learn about machine learning. So take a minute, think about it, pause the video, and I'll go through it. So we learn about machine learning because it's advancing a lot. It's going to become more and more relevant in our lives, and it's something that would advance your skills as well. You'll improve your critical thinking skills just by learning about it. Number 4, give one advantage and one disadvantage for machine learning. So we've looked at so many advantages and we've looked at quite a few disadvantages as well. Now, just take a minute and check if you can recall what these advantages and what these disadvantages were. So an advantage is it can solve all the easy problems and leave the difficult problems for humans to solve. And the disadvantage is it doesn't know for certain. It doesn't know anything for certain. Okay, so these are the answers. There's so many examples. So there's NHS, social media, Netflix, weather forecast, and so many more. Why learn it? It's a field that's growing exponentially, as I said, and you'll know how the world around you works. These are the advantages and disadvantages. I've already read them out. So just go through it. Just go through it and then we'll understand the advantages and disadvantages of it. So plenary. A search engine wants to categorize photos of cities so that users can search for them. With a partner, you don't have a partner, or you may, if you're watching it with your friend. Explain how machine learning could be used to classify photos of different cities. So we've learned about training data. We've learned about how it can what categorizing is. We've learned about pattern recognition. I've basically given you the answer. Take a minute, think about it, and we'll go through it. Just pause the video, and when you're on pause, I'll go through it. So the training data is the information you put in. You put all these images in. You label it. This is in Paris. This is in Paris. This is in UK. Then once you have it, it'll just recognize patterns. So Paris has building shaped like this. France and Paris, sorry, it's the same thing. UK has building shaped like this, and then we'll just recognize patterns. Domes would be in Turkey, and just like that. Once it can identify these patterns, when you give it new information, it can now sort it out. And that's today's lesson. Hope to see you next time. Thank you for listening.